Hello and welcome in. My name is Josh. This is the Gaming Joy channel, and we are going to do a little bit of a tutorial today. This falls under the category of my mod snippets, kind of a little snippet of information on a particular mod, or modding, or using mods. And today we're going to be talking about how to start from scratch, like start from nothing with AutoDrive. So we're going to go to New Farmer. We're going to jump over to CalmLands. We're currently playing CalmLands on our other playthrough. We have a ongoing series, link up in the top to that series. But what we're going to do is we're going to disable all of the special stuff. Gone. I don't need any of this. We're leaving only a few things. We're leaving easy dev controls and AutoDrive selected. That's it. So all we're doing is AutoDrive, and we're going to get the most recent version of AutoDrive. Now, when you do download AutoDrive, make sure you download the most recent version. Don't download it from an offsite, from a like modhub.us or anywhere else, because those are not proper. Download it from the original location, which is Steven's GitHub account, and I'll link that down below in the description so you can get to it. The way to download, and we'll talk about that real quick while this is loading, is go to his GitHub page for AutoDrive, go over to the releases tab, click on releases, and download, right click on the zip and download the zip for the most recent version of AutoDrive. It's a very, very active mod. It's updated frequently, but make sure you get the most recent version. That's all I'd say. Let's jump in. So the first thing that happens when you jump into a new save with AutoDrive is it pops up this window. It says, do you want to generate a route for this map? I'm going to go ahead and say yes, because the goal here is to create a route for CalmLands. There is no route for CalmLands, or if there is out there somewhere, I'm sure there is, but CalmLands is a very easy map to get started, mainly because there really isn't very much going on. So for a first route to build yourself, CalmLands is actually a pretty good start. So what we're going to do is we're coming over to the store. We're going to buy ourselves a tractor. Let's just get the new farm all from Giants. We'll put the front weight on for fun. Buy. Now we'll eventually need a trailer, but right now we don't. Now AutoDrive is at its core a tool for automatically driving your tractors to and from locations, and then sometimes performing tasks at those locations. So what I mean by that is you'll eventually say, hey, AutoDrive, go to this place, do this, maybe come back and do it again. And it has the ability to do that. So all of that is handled through the AutoDrive menu. Now I have the AutoDrive menu right here, bound to my insert key. It may be bound to something else. If you want to see where those settings are set, you can go into your keybinds, scroll all the way down, and as you can see, there's a whole section on AutoDrive. I have Control, Alt, and Insert set to start recording. And the three that are really important: Control, Alt, Insert, start recording; Control, Alt, and H to enable, disable. Those are my settings. They may not be the default ones. And then I toggle my HUD with the insert key. Everything else is extra. I don't really use any of the extra commands. We're going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Anyways, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come into the AutoDrive settings. Now, this is what I change on every single map. It's up to you. I always set my corner speed down at about 70%, because if tractors take the corners too fast, they crash, right? And then the other stuff we're going to make for today's, to make it easy, we're going to change the GUI scale of the HUD. We're going to set that up to, let's say 125%. Bigger than I usually do, but that way you'll be able to see the buttons when I click it. We're going to make sure show next path is on, and we're going to make sure the line height's on ground level. Now, everything else we're going to leave alone. We're not going to touch anything else except for one other setting. Down at the bottom, scale lines. Now, the lines for AutoDrive are, I'm going to apply this and show you. So if we come in here, this is our AutoDrive menu. This is the button to click and go. You click this one to change which mode you're doing. See how it says change mode up here at the top? Pick up and deliver, load, unload combine. The rest of this we'll explain later. This is your combine speed. This is your actual driving speed, okay? The rest of the buttons they're more advanced, but we'll just deal with the basics today. This is going to be one of the buttons you use all the time. This basically hides and shows your AutoDrive course. Now, if you look, what it's done is it's shown the lines that AutoDrive generated from the map's default traffic lines. And these lines are okay. We're going to use them, but we're going to modify them, okay? But right now, those lines are really small. And if I were to use those lines, it's really hard. If there's arrows on them, there aren't. And we'll explain that in a second. The arrows would be hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to change this to 300%. Now you're not going to see really any change. If we show it again, but see how the line is thicker? That's important. Okay, and the last thing to do is AutoDrive is super annoying to set up if you have traffic on. So we don't care about anything else. I'm going to leave the time scale really slow so that we have good light all day. But we're going to turn traffic off. You can run AutoDrive with traffic on. It's just sometimes a little bit frustrating. So we're going to save quick. Okay, now we have traffic off. Now what do we see? So each of these little red dots, like the one that the red line from my tractor is pointing at, is like a node, right? And each one of those points, if I click my middle mouse button, now I have a mouse cursor, see that? See this right here? I have my middle mouse button is cursor now. If I mouse over one of these points, see how it changes color? Two things are happening. The point that I'm on is changing color, and the points on either side of that point are highlighting. So it's kind of letting you know where you're clicking. This becomes super important later on. First thing to do is these lines are bi-directional. So see how there's no arrow here? This blue line means this is a bi-directional line. Now if it's a solid line with no arrow, that means that AutoDrive can drive both directions on this line. Now since this is a two-way road, that doesn't make sense. What we're going to do is we're going to update those lines very quickly to not be bidirectional. We're not going to change each node. It takes super long. What we're going to do is we're going to use these commands. So the commands within AutoDrive, if I just click, I'm selecting a point. See how it's green now? That's really good. If I hold down my left control button and click right here in front of the tractor, see how I created a new node? Great, that's important. If I have a node selected and I click on a second node, see how that creates a connection? That's going to be super key to how we build a course with AutoDrive. So I'm actually going to go ahead and create that connection. Now what we've done here is create an intersection. Basically an intersection between one line and then another line perpendicular or to an angle from that original line. That's called an intersection. Anytime three lines connect, that's what AutoDrive considers an intersection. So for an intersection, if you read here, it says if the first node is an intersection, the second is its neighbor. So if I click the first node and then I click the second node here, see how if I go to the neighbor, see that little arrow that's popping up right here? That means that I'm drawing a line between those 2 points, right? So go over here. That means I'm drawing a line. Now if I hold down the left control button, see what it's doing? It's changing this to be a bi-directional road, or a directional road. So each road segment goes in a different direction. Now because CalmLands is set up with these courses looping off the map, and we can show you that later, it actually is changing both sides of the road. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a directional road. Now if I remember correctly, I think the traffic was in this lane. So the traffic was going like this. Now, when you do that big change, that's changing all of the roads on CalmLands all at once, it's going to always leave the last segment unchanged. Now, if we do it again, back up to here, this section, if we clicking on a second node, if we toggle connection, right left shift will create a reverse road. We're not doing that now. But basically what this is, 2 directions, and I want this not to be 2 directions. So I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna click here as if I'm drawing a line between these 2 points. But since there's already a bi-directional line between those 2 points, it's gonna remove that line. Again, if I take it between these 2 points, go from the right point to the left, and I draw another line going the same direction the line's already there, watch what happens. It removes that connection. So it's going to remove, or if there's a duplicate of something you're drawing already, it's just going to remove it. No big deal. So if I want to recreate it, I'm going to click here, go here. Now, if let's say you clicked in the wrong place, you want to like, oh, what? I'm stuck. The way to get out of being stuck and to deselect this is either to click on it again. That's one way. The other way is to click your middle mouse button, which brings you into camera mode, and then click the middle mouse button again to get back out of camera mode. So anytime you go into camera mode, it kind of resets anything you're doing in AutoDrive for placing your points. So I'm going to reconnect that. And technically, I don't need this intersection here anymore, and I don't need this point. So I redrawed that path, got rid of it, and now I'm going to hold down my left Alt key, and I'm going to click on this point, and it's going to remove it. That's how you remove it. So what we've done is we've fixed the roads so they're going the right direction. Now, if you wanted to do these roads in the other direction and have the from where I'm facing the left side of the road going that direction, you could easily do that. It's up to you on how you want to run the traffic on your map. So let's confirm that we have this set up right, and let's turn traffic back on. I don't know if you have to save when you do that. And we'll give it a minute and see how the traffic is not using these paths, by the way. So if let's say I move a path like this, right, and then I get out of his way, the traffic is not going to go on my new path. It doesn't care, right? See that? These are only for AutoDrive. They're just a copy of what was there. So let's move that back into place. Ignore it. Let's turn our traffic off because we don't need it. All right. So first step, we have 2 tasks to do in creating our AutoDrive course. The first one is going to be creating all of the dirt roads that are in this mapping all the dirt roads so we have roads to drive on. And the second step is going to be this whole area up here, which is going to be making paths to go to all of the places that you need to go to. So we're going to start over here on this connection, and we're going to start recording ourselves some paths. Now I'm going to make some suggestions here, and these are just suggestions. You can do things either way. I'll do them a couple different ways just to start, and then we'll change them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get to this point. We're going to get ourselves dead in the middle of the road. I'm going to create a 2-directional road going down to wherever this road leads. Right? That should be useful. So I'm going to click right here and start recording. As you can see, it connected to this point, which isn't a very good connection. We'll fix that later. And then while it's recording, if you see if I drive forward as I drive, it's dropping points. Now, if I go around a corner, it's dropping more points, and the points are closer together. Now, part of the reason I chose this tractor is it's pretty slow, and it's easy to control. So if I click on the cruise control, all I'm doing is controlling the movement. Now I'm using the mouse and keyboard. You can use your controller to control your vehicle. It doesn't matter what you do while you're recording, as long as you keep a consistent path. If I zigzag while I'm recording, it's going to keep the course zigzagged. If I drive off into the middle of the field, it's going to go off into the middle of the field. So just be wary about what you do when you're recording. And then the other thing is if you stop and back up while you're recording. So let's say, oops, I drew off this. Oh, I don't want that, right? I obviously don't want that. So instead of backing up right here, the first thing I'm going to do is come over here, right here, and stop recording. I'm going to go ahead and back up, say, oops, I bumped the controller. I don't want those points. And then I'm going to come over here and click my middle mouse button. So now I've controlled the mouse button. I'll go over here. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to click, click, click. And what that's going to do, I'm going to move this one back in the center. What that's going to do is delete those points. We don't need them anymore. And then I'm going to get myself set up again so that I'm in the middle of the track again, because that's what I wanted. Start here. I'm going to hit record, and it should connect it. If it doesn't connect it, you can connect it later. That's not a big deal, but if it's close enough, it usually connects it on its own. And so we're going to keep going down the hill here. And then we're going to come, there's an intersection here, and we're just going to bypass the intersection. We'll come back and deal with the intersection later. I'm just going to keep on my little journey, following the road, wherever the road goes. Where's this road going to go? I don't even know. I haven't been on this road in a while. Here, let's speed this up, get to the end of the road. And there we are. We've finished drawing our road. Now, I'm not going to actually... So this is the point at which we're going to stop for a second. We're going to figure out how to connect it. But great job. You drew your first road. Alright, so where we are, we're going to stop our recording. And we can see what we've generated. We've generated a single lane, a single directional road going this direction. Kind of in the middle of the road. We can move some of the points if we want. What I'm doing to move a point is I'm clicking on it with my right mouse button and moving it a little bit closer to the middle of the track. You have to, if you want to move points, you have to move them all together all at once. That's how it works. Let's talk about how to connect this to the road. Now, if we think about the future, when we are driving with a tractor and a trailer, we could just connect from here to here and go. You think that's enough. But AutoDrive doesn't like these kind of right angle connections. It wants a smooth curve. And so you'd think that you'd have to drive that smooth curve. But actually, the AutoDrive tool has a helper for you to help you do that. So if starting on this point, see how it's highlighted in green, I'm going to draw a connection over to here. But before I click on this button, which will actually create that connection, I'm going to use my scroll wheel. Now my scroll wheel, if I go up, it's not going to do anything, but if I go down, it's going to create a nice curve. And you see how that curve changes as I move my scroll wheel. So what you want to do is you want to create a smooth transition. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do it. First one, there. Now see how it draws all of those different points? And all of those things, all of the points are there, and it's kind of a nice curve. That's great. But what if I pull out on this road and I have a big tractor? And this tree is not here, but it's actually right here on the corner, and I want to miss it. What you'll see on a lot of AutoDrive courses, if you download them, is this. They will go from here to up here somewhere on the other side of the street and then come across. So you'll see connections like this. And the way they do it is we're going to add a point right here. We're going to add a point right here. Hold down the left alt. Not too far away. You have to be relatively close to your tractor when you're drawing these points. So we're going to... Sorry, we're going to hold down control. We're going to add a point. We're going to put that point here, and we're going to draw that. Now, see that little bit? If I was trying to navigate this, I'd be going this direction, but then there's nowhere to go from this direction. But a point doesn't care. Going to and from a point doesn't care. You can go into a point on going the opposite direction, that's fine, as long as you have somewhere to go out of it. So if we go from here and we go connect across to here, like that. And if I come back to my point here, and I do my little curve thing, right? Now I'm creating a much wider turn for the tractor to take. He's coming out, he's spinning, cutting out wide, and then he's coming back. And what that's going to do is allow the tractor with a trailer or a road train behind it, or a long trailer, to have enough room to connect to that road. So that is the kind of connection I'm always going to suggest, versus this really short connection. Both of them would work. If I told AutoDrive to drive on this course right now, it would probably choose the inner one because it's shorter. We're going to remove the inner one because we don't want it like that. We want it the second way. Okay, so now I've cleared those points. But wait. We want this path going through the woods to be going both directions. We want to travel to come both directions. Now, so the first thing we're going to do to make that happen is starting from this point. This is the point where it kind of connects backwards. Actually, no, not starting from that point. The other thing we want to do is, let's say hypothetically, it doesn't really make sense on this map, but I'm going to do it anyways. We also want to be able to go from here over to this side of the road, right? And it doesn't matter which point you go from. You can go from here or here. Oops. Go from here or here. It doesn't matter where you go, which point you go from. But we do want to go that direction too. We want to be able to turn left or turn right. So I've drawn the second connection, and now coming this direction, we can either go left or right. But wait, we wanted this road to be bi-directional. So if we want to change the road we drew to be bi-directional without having to go back over the whole thing, we're going to start at this point right here, which is the intersection. We look back up the track for a little bit. This point right here is the intersection. You see how when I highlight over it, you see, oh, there's actually 2 points here. We don't need that one. Let's remove that. So removing that point, a much cleaner intersection now. So if we highlight here, see how there's 2 balls that are highlighting on this side, one node that's highlighting on that side. That means this is the intersection. We start here, and we hold down control. See how the line turns blue? Because we're holding down control, and we go to the next point. So everything from this point going that direction is going to now go 2 directions, which is what we want. So that whole thing we just drew is now a 2-directional road. That's perfect. But going into this road, now we can only go out. We can't come in. So we have to create the same connection points to go in and out. This is already a good path to turn in, so let's make that path go both directions. right? Because that we want it to go in and out on that path. So it's coming from this direction. It'll stop, go to this node, and then it'll route itself across that curve. So that is one connection. Going the other, so this is also goes to the right. The only connection we haven't drawn yet is from here to here, like coming in from the left side. And we can do the same thing, but backwards, where we can draw a connection point from here to here. That means if he's coming from this direction, he'll go across to here. And then if we turn this into bidirectional, then coming from this direction, he'll go from here to here, and he'll swing out wide before turning in, which is actually what we want. And so that connection right there is a really, really great T-intersection, because it means the tractor's always going to swing wide around whatever's on the corners and not run into signs or trees or whatever, what have you. And that road connection is all set. Let's drive up the hill and see what it looks like on the other end. So if you remember, the start of that same long path was up here at the top of the hill, going the other direction. And again, what we're going to do up at this intersection is basically replicate exactly what we did there. We're going to create a route where it swings wide out of that corner and goes onto the route. Now, those are obviously the best way to do it. But let's say, actually, let's not do a swing wide. Let's just do a normal connection. So as you can see, up to the intersection here, the whole route is bidirectional. So the whole winding route that went across the whole map is now two directions. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and I'm actually just going to delete this point. You can remove this connection if you want. So, but I'm going to delete it, because if I delete it, then the connections to that place from both directions are gone. Okay, so now we're going to redraw those curves. Now here's the secret with the curves. The curves, you can't draw from a two-directional road to a one-directional road. You can't draw this curve. Not always. Sometimes you can, but if both of them are bidirectional, you won't be able to. So let's say we just want it to go like this, to go that direction. If we're going down the hill, we're going to come here and go to this direction. If we're coming from over here, we're going to turn late and come in from here, that direction. And then if we're coming from the road, we're probably going to turn here and do something like that. Now, this just already looks confusing and looks kind of like a mess. But there are different paths for each way of going. Some of them are not swinging wide, like this one's kind of swinging wide. This one's a little bit swinging wide, but this one's a tight corner and it potentially could hit that tree. This one, there's not really much on the corner, but he'll totally take out that sign almost every time. It depends on which kind of connection you want. Personally, I like having the ones where we're swinging wide going out to the opposite lane. But again, if you leave traffic on, that won't work, because your AI worker will basically be like, oh, I need to go, if it was bidirectional like the other connection, your AI worker will follow that path over here onto the other side of the road and then cut back, which means he'll be in the other lane for a bit. So if you're leaving traffic on, those kinds of connections don't work. But we'll leave it here for now, and let's jump over, and I'm going to use easy dev controls and just teleport, because driving on this map takes a little while. Let's come over here to this kind of cloverleaf. So what we did is we drew a bi-directional path going all the way through this cloverleaf. And of course we have a cloverleaf. If we zoom out, it's kind of a cloverleaf. Like, let's actually, let's get out and fly. So if we look at the connection we have here, we have intersection of craziness, right? But it means that we can get from anywhere to anywhere with all of these connections. So since I'm not in a tractor right now, I can't see the paths that I've created, but you can see the intersection we need to create. Now I'm only going to create this one. I'm not going to go ahead and create all the rest of them on stream, but I'll show you how on the video because it'll get too long. But this one we'll create. So let's turn off flight mode. Let's get back in our tractor. Let's start creating those connections. So when I like to start a path, I always like to use that kind of scroll wheel, make the curve thing. I don't like to do it from... I don't like to create the curves myself. So I'm going to start pretty far into the road. I'm not going to start over here. I'm going to start here. And then I'm going to draw this path. Following the path. Yay. And then I'm going to stop. Then I'm going to come up here. Same thing. Pretty far from that other point. It probably won't connect this. Yeah, see, it's not connecting it. That's exactly what I want. Come up here. Now, if you're trying to get another point to draw, turn your wheels. It'll almost always create a new path because it doesn't, it tries to create the path, the points as far away as possible when you're recording, because it makes the simplest course. So if you need a new point to be created, just turn your wheels. Here we're going to start this connection, and then we're going to go through the other connections, record all of these little side routes, and then we'll come back and collect them all. So let's do this. There, that's good. Stop recording. Now I'm recording these all as separate pieces because I actually want them to be separate pieces. We'll deal with each one individually. Obviously this part takes some time. You have to drive every road, sometimes multiple times. So here, stop the recording. And then the last thing we need to do is record this line right here. So I'm going to go ahead and record that and jump back in when that whole section is done. And we're back. We got that road all paved in, or drawn in, however you want to call it. And now we have all of these connections that are going to and from the side roads. Now, we want to support kind of every path, and we want to do it all through this one. So what we're going to do is draw all the connections that are needed and make them all bi-directional. And so just to do that, let's get the tractor out of the way a little bit. I actually want a point right here in the middle. So what I'm going to do is take the existing point, just move it a little bit. So we're going to want this one to be able to... Nope. So if you see like what I tried to draw there, and I tried to use the mouse wheel, see how it creates a curve? And it's because it's a bi-directional point. So I want to create this point right here, come into here, and that's going to create a point for me to draw this curve from. So I can make this curve nice. Done. Oops, messed it up. Hit the middle mouse button, not the left mouse button. So left mouse button, finish the path. And then if I'm coming into here, I'm going to probably come like, actually I'm probably going to turn late. I don't know why. Oops. I totally messed that up. So when you mess something up, it's not a big deal. You don't have to restart your game or anything like that. All I did was draw this connection by accident. So I'm just going to draw it again back to where it was. So from here, I'm probably going to want to turn a little bit late. So I'm probably going to want to go from here to here. And again, it's doing that sweet, weird curve thing. So I don't want that. What I want is to go from there to there, and then there to there, and then make a nice curve. Now, obviously, that's not going to be used very often because of the way Course Player route. It won't actually route there. It'll come up the other path, but it is what it is. And then the other path we're going to create is from here to here. And as long as you're going with the direction, it'll do the curves nicely for you. It's when you're going against the direction that you're connecting to, it kind of creates problems. Let's create that curve. And then create this curve. Right? That's good. And then click, hold down the right control, click again, and that'll make this path bi-directional. We didn't connect this one to here, so we're going to connect that across. So if for whatever reason we want to come across here or come across that way, we'll do all of those as bi-directional. So we'll come here to here, make that bi-directional. Come here, and we're holding down the control key there, here to there. Make all of them bi-directional so that they can get whatever they want. The last pass we haven't come to is what happens if he wants to come around here and do this corner. Seems like a silly idea to me, but whatever. So I'm going to come in here and then go over to here. Create that corner. Boom. I'm going to come back here, make it bi-directional. Perfect. So now that's that intersection taken care of. We can go across, we can go across, we can go this way, that way, that way, there. We've done all the connections. We're going to make this line here also bi-directional. Hold down control. Boom. That one's bi-directional. We're going to make this one to here. Bi-directional. Oh. Bi-directional. Sometimes you have to do it twice. So basically each time you do it, see the arrow goes that way. I do it again. Now the arrow's going this way. And it lets you kind of alternate which one to go. So now that's this side of the clover leaf taken care of. And I have 4 more sides to do. I'm going to go do those and jump back in when I'm done. Jumping back into this last intersection here. One thing to be clear is I'm showing you how to use the AutoDrive tools, not showing you the right way to do it. So my way is not necessarily the right way. I'm just trying to think through it and create paths in the way that I think makes sense, thinking about making a corner. Like for this corner right here, I could have done from here to here, and that would have been fine. But from my perspective, if I cut this corner too much, it's going to hit this tree. So if I'm pulling a trailer and I come around that corner, I'm going to want to swing out as much as possible to make that connection, right? So there's no one right way to do it. AutoDrive it's kind of how you set up your course. See, it's having that problem again. So I'm going to do this, have it swing out a little bit, go there. I'm going to connect this point, make a nice curve, and then switch them bidirectional. So it's really up to you. One little thing that I've noticed, and this is a gotcha that a lot of people I think we get stuck on, is if I'm trying to make these lines bidirectional now, I click here and I go over to here and I hold down my thing. You see how it's doing the left line and not the right line, but my mouse is really over the one on the right line. So these 2 points are too close together. You can either make them the same point or do what I do, which is take this one, move it away like that. Now make that bidirectional, make this bidirectional, and then move these points back. But when I move them back, I'm not going to put them literally right next to each other. I'm going to move them a little bit away from each other so they don't kind of conflict with each other. And that's it. And that's this whole clover leaf done. And so if I try to route across this clover leaf, it's going to figure out the best path to go through these intersections and make them. And obviously there's no direct path from this top line to the bottom line. You have to go out the side roads. So nothing should conflict. And then that, I'm going to apply that to the rest of the map and all of these roads. So there's, if we think about it, if we go back into flight mode, there's this intersection over here. There's a triangular one right there. There's another clover leaf overpass one right here. There's a T intersection right here, a T intersection here, a 3-way intersection here, a 3-way there, a 3-way there. So, I mean, I've got to go through all of those connections and create each one individually. So that's going to take a little bit of time. The next thing we're going to do is start talking about trigger points. And the easy one to do, let's turn off flight mode, is actually really close to us. So we're going to teleport over to right here. Okay, so this would be another connection we'd have to draw. And ideally, let's think about this. So if this is a water point, essentially. If you're going to come down this road, you're going to go down the hill, you're going to get some water, and you're going to come back up the hill. But it's super steep coming back up the hill, and most tractors probably won't be able to do it with a full load of water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 different directional paths and connect them together. So I'm going to start recording here, and I'm going to drive down the hill the way I would drive down the hill with an empty water tank, which is obviously less taxing on the tractor. Come up here, let's zoom in a little bit, and see how there's kind of like a little island. I'm going to use that island to my benefit. Come around here, and I'm going to come into the water as if I have a trailer behind me, and then we're going to fill up, fill up right here, and then come back. So if this is the fill up point, I'm going to drive 2 points ahead of it, create, and this is going to be lake, water, fill. That's going to be a point. So I'm going to click this little icon right here, which is creating a get a target. These are targets. And then I'm going to always drive through here, drive through the water, and then drive out. Now I'm going to be full of water. If I had a trailer with me, I'm going to be full of water. So I'm probably not going to want to drive straight up the hill. I'm going to try to drive up this other path over here. So we're going to drive around. This is going to be a lot easier to go up with the tractor, the heavy water tank behind us. Come up here, following the path as best we can, and then stop. And then we're going to stop recording right here. And we're going to do the same thing we usually do, fix all the intersections, and we're going to do bi-directional. So from here, we're probably going to connect up at this point, but they're going the wrong direction, so that's fine. I'm going to go like this, create a point here, connect that one to there. And so this is my little intersection. I don't want this one, so I'm going to click disconnect that one. I want these 2 segments right here to go both directions, but we're going to leave them single direction for now. My turn in can be pretty sharp. Right? Doesn't need to be smooth. Same over here. We'll do a turn in. No, it's not working. So we'll do that rock to contend with. So maybe we'll swing out on this side. So here to here, here to there. Use our little scroll wheel thing. This one we can totally cut that corner. No big deal. Then those are my connections. So if I'm coming from this direction, I want it to come in here. If I'm coming from this direction, I want it to come in here. So I'm going to leave those single direction. Wait, no, because we want to go back out. So we're going to make all of this bi-directional. So if we go from here, I'm going to hold down my control key. That made the angle go the other way. I don't want that. Do it one more time. Now it's bi-directional. Same with over here. Do it twice. Bi-directional. And then I want these 2 segments to be bi-directional. The other way to make these segments bi-directional than using the control key is you can do individual segments. So if I have an arrow from here to here, I've already done that direction. So let's add the one for the other direction just by drawing the line between those 2 points. Now it automatically switches to be bi-directional. So now the way this will work is regardless of where the tractor comes in from, it's going to come into here, and then it's going to only go down the hill. It's only drive down the hill straight. It's going to loop around to the fill, and then it's going to take this longer path up. And there, we just created a target. So if we come over here, since that's our first target, let's show what it's like to go to a target. So I'm coming in from this side, and then this little menu here is the target menu. See the little icon next to it, targets? I'm going to go to lake, water, fill, and then I'm going to hit go. Now what we can see is the worker's taking over, and he kind of plots his route a little bit ahead. See how he's plotting way ahead, a few steps ahead of his path, usually about 2 steps ahead of where he is. He's going to plot ahead to get to figure out where you're going. Now that little highlight is one of the AutoDrive settings, which I'll show you in a half a second. And as you can see, he turns around here. We might want to move that up a little bit so we're not getting the water deeply alert. That setting right there is this. show next path. If I turn this off, hit apply. When he goes, he's not going to be able to go out. Because we don't have any other paths to go to, we can't drive back up the hill. But that's essentially how pathing works. And we'll show an example of going down here, filling up with water, and then coming back once we have a few more connection points. For now, why am I driving up the hill? Well, I don't have a water tank behind me, so I can drive up this hill without caring about AutoDrive. But two things have happened from that target. Number one, that target that we just drew is now in this menu. Number two, you can see it's right here on the mini map. And if you expand your mini map, you also see it here. It doesn't show you the label, but it does show you there's a target there. If we look at our bigger map here, it's also here, right? And if you click on it, it's going to have a name, which is just the name that you gave it, so you can know how to get there. You can actually visit all of these target places. If I hit visit, it's going to teleport me over there without my tractor. But it's only available to the AutoDrive network. So that's the AutoDrive network. If after you're done having these points on your map is annoying, you don't want to see it, you can actually get into a tractor, go into the AutoDrive configuration menu, and show markers. If I turn off and hit apply, now it's not there on the map anymore. But since what we're doing is actually making those markers, I'm going to leave it on. So, oops, I almost exited out. So anyways, so our markers are back. That's what we want. The next step for me is to finish drawing all of these paths and intersections around the map, and then I'm going to meet you back up at the shop, and we're going to start talking about actually no, we're not going to talk about the shop. We're going to talk about the other farms, and we'll talk about the other farms when I get to them. But for now, I'm going to work on some intersections and jump back in a little bit. All right, folks, we're back, and we're back with let's say we're back with our tractor, and we've got our course for the roads pretty much done. Now, as you'll see, we've got lots of two-way intersections and a lot of kind of ways to turn multiple directions and go from different places down. Now, this is actually a somewhat complex set of courses, even though we are using the very simple multi-directional, like always go in either direction, whatever you want, way of looking at intersections. Now, some of these intersections, some of these curves, like coming down this hill to a hard turn to go underneath the bridge, that doesn't make sense, because if you think about it, there's already a path to go from the road down the hill down going that way. So why would you ever go this way? And part of the reason depends on when you start your course. So if I start my course, if I'm like literally right here next to the line, and I start my course to go, let's say, to that water fill point we did earlier, the tractor needs a way to navigate from here around the corner to go that way without like driving in circles around the map. That's part of the reason we did it. Now, there are other ways of doing it. So let's jump over to a different area and see other ways of doing it. So if we jump over to this cloverleaf, as you see with this cloverleaf, I did it in a much simpler way, where I didn't include the turns from going this direction to go back underneath the bridge in any direction. And it creates a little bit of a simpler path to see. And I think that's going to help us in the long run. And I think it actually helps routing. It does mean there are some small situations where it doesn't really know how to route somewhere. But in my mind, that's not a big deal. The next part we should really be getting into is how do we set up our targets? So let's jump up to this farm, which is the starter farm, and let's do one more set of navigation and routing and creating our paths for the starter farm. So for the starter farm is a single directional road going in, and we can do the bi-directional, make it two-way. That's fine. So if we go here, we're going to start recording. Let me double check my settings. I think my... Yeah, there it is. So now we're up at the farm, and we're going to create our route into the farm. If I start recording, got a couple of points. We need a way to get from here. I'm going to swing wide because we have those bollards right here on the left. If we're going out, we have to swing wide on the bollards again. So we're going to do something similar. And again, I'm using my scroll wheel to make these corners nice and smooth. If we're turning in, we can just turn in from here. That's fine. And if we're turning from the house going this direction, we'll just go from here to... Oh. We can go from here to there. And do one of those kind of 4 different paths. Make it simple. And then we can continue our recording, drive up the path to the house. Now, the two-way or bi-directional roads are really good when you're playing single player and you don't have very many tractors on the map. Now, the one place that those do fall over, let's do starter farm, starter farm entrance. We're gonna label our things. So go here. Starter farm shed 1. We're going to loop around. Click, click, click. Starter farm sleep trigger. And then loop around again. This is... shed 2, and then we connect back up with our path. So I'll stop recording, do what we've been doing this whole time, keep doing the same thing over and over, but that's fine because it's the right way to do it. And we're gonna make this a two-way road. And we're good. So now we can navigate in and out of our starter farm. And as you can see in our list, we have starter farm entrance, starter farm shed 1, starter farm shed 2, sleep trigger. We also did the west farm as well. Now we can group these into folders, and that's a little bit more advanced than we need to know right now. We're just going to keep it as a simple list. But as I was saying, where these kind of bi-directional roads fall over is when you have more than one tractor running AutoDrive at once. So if I had a tractor coming down the hill and I had a tractor going up the hill at the same time, they're both navigating on this one path. Now, that's not a huge deal in most cases, but it does leave us with an opportunity to be better. So one way to do it, and this is the way that I've seen on a bunch of other AutoDrive courses, is to make a breakout. So if we do this, I'm going to do this real quick. You'll see what I'm doing. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I stopped recording. Don't worry, we can always fix it. So what I'm going to do here is basically make a passing zone. Stop recording. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this point to here, this point to here. I'm going to delete these points, and I'm going to delete the route in the middle. And so what that's going to create is essentially a passing zone where tractors can come and go without running into each other. And what will happen is AutoDrive is actually smart enough to detect when these are created. And remove all that. Remove this connection here. We want this one to connect to here. This one to connect to here. So now what we've created is a little passing zone. So if a tractor's coming into the farm, it's going to come up here, and then it's going to immediately go to the right. And if a tractor's going out of the farm, it'll immediately go down the other side, and they'll be able to pass each other with no problems. And if a tractor's coming up here on the right and he sees that there's a tractor within this segment up here, he'll actually sit here and wait for that other tractor to go through. So you want to create these passing zones without too much gap in between them. You want to create them kind of close to entrances around the map. It means that most of your courses can be simple, but some of them should be complex. And so you could also create a passing zone here. And again, you don't even need to drive the passing zones, right? I can just come in here, hold on my control key, and I'm going to create a passing zone here. And I'm going to create one here. And I'm just dragging points with my mouse. And just as easy as that, I just created a passing zone that will prevent tractors from running into each other. So one side goes up the right side, the other one goes up the left, and all is well. So you should create those around your map in some places, but only if you're going to be running like 2, maybe 3 tractors along the same path. And for that matter, you only really need to do it on the paths that you're navigating to and from a lot, like to and from your main farm. That's a place that makes a lot of sense. But that's the reason to do that. Now, the other way of creating that would be to make all of your roads 2-directional. Now, let's take a quick look and see what that would look like. So taking a look at what it would look like if all of our roads were one way. All of our paths were one way. And as you can see, I already started to create, this is a separate game save with a separate AutoDrive course. And as you can see, I did the same work here on the main road, but on every road, as you drive around, there's 2 paths, one going north, one going south, one going in, one going out. And as you can see, to do that, you do the same work we did before, except you have one on one side of the road and one on the other side of the road. So I basically, instead of driving down the middle of the road, I drove down the side of the road. Now, where that becomes complex is places like up here, where you have all of the interchanges, or this big, huge cloverleaf thing that's going on, and where you have to have lots and lots of connections and lots of connection points. We still use the 2-directional kind of idea, like right here. Actually, this is wrong. This should be... This should be 2-directional. And I missed that connection. Because these bridges are pretty thin, you can't get 2 tractors across there. But as you can see, for the most part, we had to run 2 paths down every road. Now this just takes more work, takes more time, and I went through and did it for the entire map. So if you're interested, I'll put links to both AutoDrive courses down in the description below. But essentially, you just have to do twice as much work and create twice as many connections. But it also means that on every road, everywhere, there's always room to pass, and you won't run into conflicts with tractors being stuck because one's coming one way and one's going the other way as much. And as you can see each way, like I'm always going from this way to go that way, or coming this way to go that way. Like, it's very prescriptive. This is the way it's best to make maps, but it takes a little bit longer. And that's the other way to do it. So you can either do it with those little breakouts like I showed you a minute ago, or you can actually just build all your roads to be basically one way or 2 lanes instead of 1 lane. But let's go ahead and jump back over to the other save, and let's finish off the store area and figure out how to do all of those triggers. All right, we're back on our 2-way save where we're doing all the kind of bi-directional roads, and we're going to go ahead and set up the shop. So first of all, we need to create our entrances to the shop. So one way that's actually faster is just to drop the points. So if I come in here and I have my mouse, you see my mouse here, and I hold down control and I click, I'm going to create a point. I click again. If I'm still holding control, I'll actually create a point with connections. If I do that again over here, right now I have going in, coming out. And since I have coming in and coming out, I can then connect these the way I want to connect to the main road. So I'm just going to wipe through this quickly. We're doing the same thing we've been doing over and over. I'm going to swing wide to go in. Swing wide to go out. Sometimes you want a point that doesn't exist, so you just drop another point, add a connection point. That's fine. Okay, we got the swing in from there, and then we want to go from here to go this way. So we're gonna go from here to here. Boom, perfect. So now we're in the shop, and what we want to do is we want to create a path to get to all of our sell points. So I'm going to create kind of, this is where we're going to get into primary and secondary paths. But first, let's record the main path in and out. So I'm going to say that the main path in kind of comes in through here, right? We're going to come in like this. We're going to turn right, come across here. Now these are all our sell points for stuff. Like this one right here, I think we can start labeling things. So this point right here is tubers. I like to put either sell or buy at the end of the name. So this is the tubers. See all the tubers, potatoes and sugar beets, the sugar beet cut. We're still recording, so we just keep driving through here. And you'll see how sometimes I'm like driving to the left or right slightly just to be able to drop a point. And I come in here, and this is agro. I'm going to put Agroland Forge. I think that's the name of it. Then we're going to drive around this corner. Oops. Help me with the camera. Thank you. We're going to swing wide because we could be towing a trailer. I'm going to drive here and then drive back out to the main entrance. And then we'll add on all the other stuff when it's needed. Swing a little bit wide there. Cut the corner here. And as you can see here, I'm actually doing 2-way paths again, like a 2-lane path, because I think when you're in the shop, there's more chance of there being multiple vehicles in here at once than on the main roads. So a 2-lane path makes a lot more sense. And then we stop recording. Connect that one up. And we have our main path. Look at that. That's going to be our main path in. So let's think, what else are we going to have to do? We're going to have to get gas. So let's come here, start recording. And we're going to come in here, like this. We don't need this connection. We want this connection. And it's probably you're just going to want to come in and get gas and then leave. So we're going to name this fuel fill. And then you're going to hook back out to the main route. And I'll stop recording. There. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the first point, go to the second point. I'm going to hold on my shift key. Now what that's going to do, see how that line's brown now? That creates this entire loop as a secondary route, which means that it's not going to try to navigate through this route to go through the rest of the shop. And the reason we're doing that is because we don't want it to go on this path as like a default route. We want it to go on the other one. That makes more sense right here. So this fill point that's kind of dead ahead of us, let's record for that one. So we want to go from here to here. We don't want this one. And then we're going to drive through. Now this is where we're going to fill up with lime and fertilizer on the map. This is an on the map sell point for lime and fertilizer. It's not a silo, even though it kind of looks like one. So I'm going to put in here. Let's see what it's called actually. If we go into our menu, come down here to, wrong one, the sell points. Go down here for solid fertilizer, AgroTerra. It's where you buy it. So we're going to put it in here, AgroTerra, lime and fert. Perfect. And move forward just a little bit. We're still recording. And I'm going to stop recording here. And from here, you might want to go in and sell something. You might. I don't know why you would, but you might. So I'm going to connect that one. And I'm also going to connect back out. So probably going to go here. Make a nice big wide turn. Oh, I did that backwards. Here we go. Nice big wide turn to loop back out. We go out. We're going to change these all into secondary. Now the reason I want to change these into secondary is I don't want, if I'm going here to sell tubers, I don't want it to drive through here just to connect to there. Even though it's technically a shorter path, I want them to use the primary route, which is the green. So the brown is secondary, and you're going to use your shift key. You can turn any point or path into secondary with your shift key. So if I hold on my shift key and I click on this one point, it's going to turn it from red to brown. The color of the points don't really matter. It just helps its routing. So then let's do another secondary route. Right here is where we're going to sell wood chips. So let's start recording here. And we're going to turn off, come in here. Right, we'll probably have a trailer behind us. So this one is going to be, what's the wood chip one called? Is there a name for it? Let's find, oops. Wood chips, it's called sawmill. So we'll call it sawmill wood chips. It's the first point. And then we're going to come up here a little bit further ahead to make sure, just in case we have a long trailer with it behind us. Sawmill wood. Stop recording. Connect this up with the main line. And then make this route secondary. Again, we don't want to be driving through the sawmill just to drive around maybe to the animal dealer or what have you. So this is the reason why you'd create a secondary route. Let's talk about one more kind of route, which is a backup route. So over here, we have two things. We have the start recording. We'll make a big wide turn. Come across here. One more point. There we go. And save this as animal. It's the animal dealer sell point. Stop recording. Link this up. Make it secondary. Perfect. So now we have a way to sell our silage, hay, straw, and grass. It's going to all get sold at the animal dealer sell point. We don't want this connection. We want to make a nicer corner than that. Right. Again, turn it secondary. All set. And then the second one was we have to figure out how we're going to get into that back corner. So if you're the animal dealer, if you want to buy animals, is over there in the back corner. But you're going to have to back in there with a trailer. You can't pull in. So if you want AutoDrive to back in there for you, you have to create a backup route. And that's what we're going to do right here. So the backup route, how would you actually back your trailer in? This is how I do it. You might do it differently, but that's fine. So if I was backing in there, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to pull up here pretty far. Make sure my trailer's straight behind me. And then I'm going to back up. And I'm going to back up like this. And this whole time, imagine that I have a trailer behind me. This all makes sense once you have a trailer. All right. That last point is the backup point. I'm going to set this as animal. Buy. That's where we buy animals. Still recording. And then I'm going to have a separate route to get out that doesn't touch the backup route, because I don't want to confuse those. Hook this one up to that one. And then again, change this to a secondary route from there. And then we have to connect up one more piece, which is right over here. And then we don't want this piece. We want this. And we're good. So now we have a way of backing into the animal dealer to buy animals, because it's in this trigger zone with AutoDrive. So we can tell AutoDrive, hey, go buy animals. And what it'll do is it'll stop in the animal dealer trigger to buy animals. And that's pretty much it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of these points here at this basically the selling area, label them all, create paths for them all. So like we'll go in here, we'll go record. This one right here is a methane cell. Come up here, drive across here. We want to, this is going to be the cooperative. So I'm going to pull out a little bit. Come on, give me a point. There we go. I'll move that point in a second. Even though I'm still recording, I can actually move the points. So I don't want this moved up here. And then I'll label that in a minute. So then I'm going to swing nice and wide because I probably have a trailer or two behind me. Come in here. This is going to be I'm going to label this one. That's where we sell cooperative products. Stop recording. Connect this. Turn it into a secondary route. And then we're going to drive back around the corner to set the sell point trigger for inside the building. Now the way these triggers work is you want it to be not on the sell point. You want it to not be on the sell point. You want it to be ahead, because the part that needs to be over the sell point trigger is the tip area of the trailer. So wherever the tip trigger on the trailer is, that's what you want to be over this part right here, which is this part right here, which is the actual sell point. Your tractor is going to try to go to this point. So when you're telling AutoDrive to navigate to this point, the tractor has to get to here. But let's say you have 2 trailers behind you doing a road train. You have to get this far up so that the trailer, the last trailer, will actually trigger. And when you tell AutoDrive to do stuff for you, it needs to have enough space so where the tractor can get to the target point, but still have enough space to sell. So it really depends on what type of thing you're trying to sell. So grains you have to pull forward a lot further than, let's say, pallets, because pallets will sell right off your trailer. We'll come here. There. All right. And then the last 2 pieces are going to be the shop and this little area over here. And I'll go through this real quick. You can actually just watch me do it. I'll be quiet for a minute and I'll zoom through this last piece. And there we go. We've got everything mapped out. We've got our pickup spot place for where this stuff spawns in. It all spawns in right here along this area here. We've got our textile imports for selling cotton and wool. Got our AgroTerra for lime and fert. We've got AgroPet, which is where you can buy TMR. This map actually has a place where you can buy TMR, which is pretty cool. AgroLand for buying grapes and olives. We have the dairy products sell point in the back where you can sell your milk. We've got our cooperative products. We've got everything. It's all mapped out. So now, as just a test to make sure everything is working right, let's get 2 trailers. Let's go to the store and just get 2 pretty simple trailers. Let's get ourselves half pipe, because I like the half pipe. Buy, yes. And we'll come into animals and get a water tanker. Right? Don't care what it looks like. And let's go and test a couple of our points that we said we wanted to go to. So let's go here and go over here to the Aquatrans. And from here, let's go to the lake water and fill. So we're going to tell it to... go to the lake. We want to fill at the lake water. And we want to go back to this point, to the shop pickup, and wait. So we're going to do is set this to shop pickup. Lake water fill. It'll fill at the lake water, and we want it to fill with water. So go here. We're going to go like this. And now it's going to go right past the shop pickup. It's going to drive down to the lake, fill up with water, and then go from there. Now I'm just going to put this into a little bit of a time lapse. You can kind of watch this guy driving around the map, and we'll make sure it happens. as you can see here, as soon as the trailer gets within the trigger distance to fill up with water, it'll start filling up with water. So sometimes it doesn't even make it to the trigger point that we set. That said, it doesn't matter. It'll still continue through the path, and it may stop at pause at the trigger point, and then it'll realize, oh wait, I'm already full of water, and it'll continue on to the next point. So now you can see over on the right, it says shot pickup. It's highlighted in blue, and now he'll drive back up the hill, following the way out path that we set initially. And obviously he's struggling a little bit because it's a full water tanker, but should handle it. And head back up to the wash shop. And there we go. Successful delivery. What if let's try another thing. Let's say, what if we just we had a full tanker of stuff, and let's say we have a tanker of dairy. Let's say we have a tanker of milk. And we're over here at our starter farm. Let's say we had a tanker of milk. Let's fill that thing with, I guess I can only fill with water. Never mind. Let's do another example. Let's say we had some grain to sell, right? We got our trailer full of grain. Let's go sell some grain at the co-op. One route I realized I didn't put in was this one, just in case we wanted to go back that way. I don't know why you would, but we can add it. No big deal. Let's say you're over here. And you're like, wait, I have a full trailer of grain. I want to sell it. So let's go to the co-op. Cooperative grain. Dump it. Now, there are times when its closest path is going to take it through a fence. And obviously that's not something you want. So sometimes you have to help it navigate to the right line, or else it'll do silly things like drive out. So if I come here and execute it again, tell it to go to cooperative grain, it's going to navigate the best it can to cooperative grain. And in this instance, for whatever reason, he decided to drive through the fueling area and then drive back out. And it looks like he's going to try to loop around and drive out and then go somewhere to come back in so that he's on the entrance path. And it was all because I wasn't like centered on the line and where he was trying to navigate to. So of course, AutoDrive doesn't necessarily always work perfect. But I'm trying to give you like fake examples that are sort of realistic, and but like, why would you ever have a full tanker of grain already at the dealership? That doesn't make sense. Let's see, you're coming from, we'll do one more. Let's say we're at our farm, we're at the starter farm, and we're here, and what we want to do is we want to go and sell our grain. So let's do that, and then that's pretty much an example of all of the things that we would normally do is, you know, deliver. There's also a harvesting mode. You could have it set to the harvest, and those are all very advanced topics, and this video has already gone on long enough. So if there's enough interest, let me know down in the comments below if you want me to go into a little bit more detailed videos of some of the more advanced functionality of AutoDrive, such as, you know, the stand and deliver stuff, like the automatic harvesting, grain cart things, of the kind of waiting for the grain cart to fill and then go out, like field waiting. All of those things are things you can do with AutoDrive, and AutoDrive is really good for. And how do you hook up AutoDrive and Courseplay? Those are more advanced topics, and there's other videos on the internet about those. But if you want me to do a video on them, let me know down in the comments below. And if there's enough interest, I'll make a video on it. For now, we're going to sit here and watch this thing suffer up the hill. Let's make his job a little bit easier. Okay, we're still delivering wheat, but we only have 1,000 liters. As we enter the shop area and sell this grain, one thing I will note is that you do not have to have AutoDrive visible to be able to do these kind of deliveries. So if I click over here at the exclamation point, I can turn the course off so I don't actually see the actual courses on the screen, and it'll do its work. If you want to turn off that little arrow in front of you, that's the next marker thing that we did earlier, and of course you can turn that off if you want. Right now, while we're testing, it makes sense to keep it on. As you can see, he's pulling up into the grain thing, and as soon as the trailer's in the dump trigger, sometimes that's a little bit earlier than you expect, doesn't matter. As soon as that trailer's in the dump trigger, it'll sell its grain, and then as soon as he's done selling the grain and he actually makes it to the trigger point, which is right there on the ramp down, if you remember, he's done. And so he'll just sit here forever, because it's a single, like, it's a dump and wait command. So if we wanted him to go home, we're going to have him go over to West Farm Shed 1, and we'll let him drive to our other farm house, and we're going to call it a day. So I hope everyone liked this little kind of start to finish tutorial on how to set up AutoDrive, how to create it from the get-go, like a brand new map, how to build roads, how to record your own network of roads, how to set roads to be two-way or one-way, how to change the direction of roads, how to create secondary roads, triggers, the whole 9 yards. We've set up an entire map, and this route would be usable. And if you find a problem in it, you can just go in and edit it. You can go in and edit any time, and now you have all of the tools you'd need to do that. Now, if you're getting on stuff outside of the road, if your own custom farm build, that's the best part about AutoDrive, is that you're not relying on what's on the map already. If I build a farm in the middle of a field somewhere, I can make an AutoDrive route to all the things that I place in that farm. And it's super easy to do it. But I hope everyone liked this video. I want to say thank you to everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and comment down below. Comment on 2 things. 1, did you like my tutorial? Was it helpful? I hope it helped somebody. And if there's something I missed or something I said wrong, please call it out. Let me know down in the comments below. Share it with your friends if they wanted to learn AutoDrive and they want some simple kind of start to finish tutorial. Share this with your friends. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.